This case took a dark turn. The shocking story of Jessica Callaher. She was young, she was driven, and she had finally found the love she thought she deserved. But within weeks, Jessica Callaher would vanish, leaving behind more questions than answers. This is not just a case of a missing person. It's a chilling story of manipulation, obsession, and a dark past that kept resurfacing. And the deeper authorities dug, the more disturbing the truth became. This is the shocking case of Jessica Callaher, a case that took a dark, unexpected turn. Jessica's new start. Jessica Callaher was 31, living in Austin, Texas. She was a mother, a sister, a daughter, and she was known for her vibrant personality and her sharp mind. In early 2019, she was turning over a new leaf. Jessica had recently finalized a divorce and was eager to start fresh. She had just gotten a new job at a local car dealership. The future looked promising. She was reconnecting with her goals, focusing on stability for herself and her young son. After a long period of uncertainty, things were finally settling. In March, she met a man named Brian Haynes on a dating app. At first, it seemed like fate. He was attentive, charming, and seemed genuinely interested in her and her son. He asked thoughtful questions, made her feel seen, and gave her the kind of attention she hadn't felt in years. For Jessica, this felt like a second chance at love. She let her guard down. She believed she had found someone who appreciated her strength, but she didn't know she had invited a storm into her life. What she didn't know was that Brian had a criminal past and a dangerous pattern of behavior that would soon become impossible to ignore. Behind his smile was a history of violence that would soon resurface with terrifying consequences. The man she met, Brian Haynes, wasn't a blank slate. He had prior convictions for assault, robbery, and multiple restraining orders filed by past partners. He had a violent temper and a history of manipulation, but he also knew how to hide it. He was calculated, presenting himself as trustworthy, compassionate, and even vulnerable. To Jessica, he appeared thoughtful and supportive. Within weeks, their relationship grew intense. He met her son. They spent nearly every day together. He made himself a constant presence in her life, moving quickly to build trust and dependence. But behind the scenes, red flags were mounting. He began isolating her from longtime friends and family. Subtle at first, then more direct. He didn't like when she texted others or made plans without him. Jessica's family noticed she was becoming more distant. She stopped showing up to work. She canceled plans. She seemed constantly preoccupied. Her once bright energy had dimmed. It was like someone had slowly drained the life from her. Friends would later say that she appeared drained and anxious. Something was clearly wrong, but no one could pinpoint what. They worried but couldn't quite put their finger on what exactly was happening behind closed doors. The disappearance. On May 29, 2019, Jessica was last seen at the car dealership where she worked. She had just finished her shift and told co-workers she planned to see Brian that evening. But the next morning, she didn't show up for work. She didn't call. She didn't text. Total silence. Her phone went straight to voicemail. She didn't answer texts. She missed a planned visit with her sister. By mid-morning, concern had turned to alarm. By the following day, her family officially reported her missing. Jessica was not the type to vanish without a word. Her son was her world. She would never willingly leave him behind. Police conducted a welfare check at her apartment. Nothing seemed out of place. Her car was gone. Her son was with his father. But Jessica, gone without a trace. There were no signs of a break-in or struggle, just absence. Authorities quickly turned to Brian Haynes. He was the last person known to have seen her. When asked, he claimed Jessica had left town voluntarily, that she had been feeling overwhelmed and just needed space, but her family didn't buy it. Jessica was devoted to her son. She wouldn't just disappear, especially not without saying a word. Her mother said, even if she needed a break, she would never leave her baby behind. A suspicious timeline. Investigators began unraveling Brian's story. He said Jessica dropped him off at a park on the night she disappeared. He claimed he didn't see her after that, but phone records told a different story. Cell tower data placed both of their phones together near an abandoned property south of Austin the night she vanished. Even more damning, surveillance footage from a gas station showed Brian using Jessica's credit card the day after she disappeared. He bought cleaning supplies, bleach, gloves, trash bags, and his car. When officers searched it, they found traces of blood in the trunk. The DNA came back as a match to Jessica. Still, without a body, the case remained classified as a missing persons investigation. But detectives were confident. This wasn't a disappearance. This was a murder. The break in the case. In August 2019, 2 months after Jessica vanished, Brian Haynes was arrested, not for Jessica's case, but for unrelated charges of assault and weapons possession. While in custody, he began talking. He admitted he had a fight with Jessica the night she went missing. He claimed it got out of hand. He said he panicked and dumped her body. He led investigators to a remote stretch of land in Caldwell County. That's where they found her. Jessica's remains were discovered buried in a shallow grave. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Her body was wrapped in plastic and tied with rope, disposed of like garbage by someone she once trusted. The charges with Jessica's body recovered. Brian Haynes was formally charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. His past came back to haunt him. Testimonies from former partners revealed a terrifying pattern of control, threats, and violence. One ex had filed a restraining order claiming Brian once held her at knife point. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Brian entered a plea of not guilty. Prosecutors were ready. They had physical evidence, Jessica's blood in his car. They had digital data, texts, phone records, GPS pings. They had motive, means, and history. The trial would soon begin. But for Jessica's family, no sentence could undo the pain of losing her. The trial and conviction. In 2021, after multiple delays, Brian Haynes went to trial. The courtroom heard devastating details. The prosecution presented a clear timeline, showing that Brian lied repeatedly. His behavior showed consciousness of guilt, from using her credit cards to buying cleaning products to trying to hide her body. Witnesses recalled Jessica's growing fear of Brian in the weeks before her death. Her co-workers testified that she had mentioned feeling unsafe, that Brian would show up unannounced, that she wanted to leave him but didn't know how. In the end, the jury returned a unanimous verdict: guilty. Brian Haynes was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. A family's grief. For Jessica's family, the verdict brought some closure, but no peace. Her parents spoke to the media, urging other women to recognize the signs of abuse and manipulation. They described Jessica as a loving mother, someone who lit up every room she walked into. Her son, now growing up without her, is being raised by family who make sure he knows exactly who his mother was. They also created a foundation in Jessica's name, promoting domestic violence awareness and resources for women in dangerous relationships. Their message was clear: Jessica's story cannot be forgotten. And if it helps save just one life, her death won't be in vain. A warning that came too late. What makes this case so devastating isn't just the crime, it's the pattern. Jessica's death wasn't random. It was a culmination of ignored warning signs. A man with a known history of violence, who slipped through cracks in the system only to take the life of someone who believed in second chances. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always come with a mask. Sometimes it looks like charm, like attention, like love. Jessica Callaher didn't just vanish, she was silenced. But her story speaks louder now than ever before. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous relationship, reach out, speak up. There are people who will listen. Jessica's case is a tragic reminder of what happens when silence wins. Don't let it. Like, comment, and subscribe if you believe these stories need to be told. Share this video to help others recognize the signs. And stay aware, because sometimes the darkest turns begin with the softest voices.